Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.
Peace and love, family. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion I have with me tonight. Another powerful guest, Baba Imhotep. How are you doing tonight, my brother?
I'm doing excellent, Dr. Maat. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, brother. I mean, this was a long time coming. You know, you and I are both natives of Baltimore, Maryland. And we frequent in the same circles. And so this was a long time coming. I've seen you out at different events. I've also, went down to your spot, the Grub Factory. I know you have a school, the Watoto Development Center. I know you're in the process of building another school in Baltimore. And so, again, Baba, it's an honor to be building with you and speaking with you today. But like I said, it's a long time coming.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But family, before we get started, take a moment to share this video. Tonight, I'm telling you, Baba Imhotep is going to drop a lot of jewels tonight. If you thought that Baba Baruti dropped jewels, I'm telling you now, Baba Imhotep has that same spirit, has that same passion, has the same fire. You are going to want to share this information with your family, friends. All right, so take a moment out right now, family. Let's share this video. Let's get more people in the building. Also, if you have not subscribed to my channel, come on over to YouTube, because I know some people are going to be watching on Facebook. Head on over to YouTube. Type in dr.maat, subscribe to my YouTube channel. All right. And click the notification bell so that as soon as I go live, you will be notified. Also, family, check out my other videos, Truth to Power Talk. I've had so many elders, master teachers, professionals, doctors come through to talk about a variety of topics, history, politics, economics. So be sure to check out these other videos on my channel. Also, join me on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Resurgence of the African Mind book club going on. So far, we've read all kinds of books. I mean, Blueprint for Black Power, Falsification of African Consciousness, Cultural Misorientation, Powernomics, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. And this Sunday, we are going to announce our next text. So join us on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on this channel. All right, so I'm going to read Baba Imhotep's bio. Baba Imhotep is the founder and minister of operations of the Pan-African Liberation Movement, PLM. He is a co-founder and executive director of the Urban Youth Initiative Project, which is a non-profit youth organization working with youth ages 6 through 12. He is the founder and lead facilitator of the African Awareness and Critical Thinking Studies class, a community-based study class specializing in the study and examination of African history and culture. Baba Imhotep has over 25 years experience in studying and understanding African history and culture. He is a scientific Pan-Africanist, community organizer, social transformer, lecturer, educator, mediator, organizational consultant, relationship consultant, violence interventionist, specialist, and a self-prescribed urban philosopher. He is also the author of 4 books: Urban Philosophy, Thought and Behavior System, Urban Philosophy, Politics and Urban Struggle, Urban Philosophy, New African Revolutionary Vanguard, and African Manhood in the 21st Century. Baba Imhotep is a native of Baltimore City, and his lifelong mission is the sovereignty of African people. Ashe, Baba Imhotep. Ashe.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Baba, for coming on the platform. And, I bear witness, family, to the work that Baba Imhotep has put in and is putting in. I've seen him touch the lives of a lot of youth in Baltimore City, who's following his lead, all the way. He's hired, so he's not just talking the talk. He's walking the walk. I went to the Grub Factory. I know at one point you all owned that, and he had nothing but youth. I mean, including your daughter, Baba Imhotep. I had an opportunity to speak with your daughter a few times when I came to the Grub Factory to patronize you guys, and she was just bragging about you and just proud of her dad, and so I've seen your work. I've seen your work and I appreciate that. I also appreciate Baba Imhotep. You patronized Meltrek. When we dropped Meltrek, I believe maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you were one of the first people to support the project. You showed the project at the Watoto Developmental Center. Your wife had video recorded the children watching it, tagged me on Facebook. And then, maybe a year or two ago, you came back and I believe you bought like 10 or 20 DVDs. But I know that you have been a supporter of the Meltrek project. And so I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting our endeavor.
And I need to re-up. That's what I meant. I know I switched Facebook pages and we haven't connected, but I want to re-up on some more of the Meltrek, volume 1 and 2, and I'm waiting for volume 3.
Oh yeah, volume 3. I'm excited about creating that because we're going to be teaching children about. I mean, they're going to hear the word Sankofa. We're going to be teaching them about Ifa in the film and what a griot is, and so it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a powerful. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm really excited about it, and it should be out by the end of the year. And then also, Baba, I know you are all in the process of building a school. Yes. And I definitely would want you to speak to that right now, what you're doing and what you need the people to do. I know that you do have a Cash App, I believe, or a PayPal. Yes. Yeah. So let's talk about the school that you're building in Baltimore for our youth for a moment before we get into tonight's topic.
Okay. So real briefly, what we want to do is we want to build what we call an independent school, and naturally it's going to be African-centered, and our focus is children ages 6 through 10. So the way we're thinking about doing it, we're going to do it in age grades. So our 6 and 7-year-olds will be educated together. Our 9 and 10-year-olds will be educated together. And the 8-year-old, if they're strong, they'll be educated with the 9 and 10-year-olds. If the 8-year-old isn't too strong, then he or she will be educated with the 6 and 7-year-olds. And to date, we have raised $30,000 to date towards that effort. We have an ongoing fundraiser on our website, plm95.org. Person can go on there and they can click on Sankofa Institute for Enhanced Learning, and you can make a one-time contribution. But what we're trying to do, we're asking people to invest in the project, because what we don't want to happen is we don't want to run into the financial issues when the school get up and operational, like most of our institutions do. So, so what some of the people around us came up with an idea, they said, why not ask people to make a $21 donation every month? Just commit to that. $21 a month, commit to this school project, and it will help us to get the school up and operational and to sustain the school. Because the sustainability projects is what most people never think about when they bring these institutions into existence. And we're saying it's the Sankofa Institute for Enhanced Learning because we're going to teach them everything about what it is to be African. We're not going to apologize for that, and we're not going to try to make no other inclusions. They're going to learn what it means to be African boys and girls within the USA.
Powerful, Baba. And I'm definitely going to make a contribution tonight before you head on out. And also, Baba, I want to bring you back on the show to talk about your books and purchase purchase like 10 books from you and 10 autograph copies, because you write in Baltimore. So get 10 autograph copies of your book. And you come back on the show. So we select a book, you come on, we talk about the book, and we give out 10 copies of your book to the listening audience. So I want to bring you back on, at least, next month sometime to talk about a book. And then we give out 10 books to the listening audience. Okay.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Absolutely. And I love what you said just now. You said we're going to teach our children what it means to be African in America. And you said we're going to do that unapologetically.
Yes.
Unapologetically. And that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about tonight with, having a race first attitude. And so my question was, and it was really a rhetorical question when I said, should African people, I don't like using the term Black. I know some people say they don't mind. I would prefer African, but, Black or African people, should we have a race first attitude? You know, that was the initial question. But then I said, let me go back. I want to rephrase it and just make it a statement. Race first, optional or necessary, right? And so
Yeah.
let's get into what it means to be race first, or what it means to be, what it means to be race first. Because I feel like to say I'm unapologetically African, right? I think that kind of coincides with being race first, or with, you know, having or engendering or fostering a race first attitude. So let's talk about that. What is race first? What do you mean by that? I know that a week ago you had a rally here in Baltimore City. It was a race first rally, and different people came on to speak about different things. So what do you mean by race first?
That's a great question. So when I say race first, and what I'm trying to do with pushing the race first is, I'm saying thought and behavior. I said that way for a reason. Thought and behavior that places the social, political, economic interests, spiritual well-being, and overall survival of Black people first, African people first. So I'm saying thought and behavior, because behavior follows thought. A lot of people don't get with that. So I tell people all the time, I can understand how you think by watching what you do. So that's why I say thought and behavior that places the social, political, and economic interests, spiritual well-being, and overall survival of African people first. What I mean, so basically it's this, like this. I tell people all the time, when you first meet a person of the other race, the first thing that's obvious is that both of you are of the other race.
Come on.
That's the first thing that's obvious. So if I sit down in a meeting with a Chinese person, the Chinese know I'm African or Black, whatever. You know what I'm saying? They know I'm not Chinese. So they automatically expecting me to demonstrate from that position, because that's what I am. But the moment I do not represent from that position, I begin to weaken my position in that overall arena. And so that's the reason why I said we can't do no apologizing, because it's apparent that we African. So therefore, wherever we go, we must always demonstrate and represent that. Place that first. So if you are in a board meeting, or if you are in politics, you have to come to the political arena with a Black agenda, with an African agenda, first and foremost. That's the only way you can get something done. When you come and demonstrate and represent as you are, not pretending to be anything other than what you are.
Hold up, Baba, hold up. So let me ask you this. Well, what about, so you got some people, you said that's who you are, but you have a lot of Africans in America who will say, I've never been to Africa. I'm not, you telling me to be African. What do you mean, brother? I'm African. I've never been to that continent. I don't have no connection with that continent. So what do you mean race first? I'm not race first. You know, I'm an American. I actually had a good friend of mine. We went to college together, and we're still friends. We bicker back and forth. But he told me I'm not African. He said, I know I came over here on the boat. You know, my ancestors came over on the boat. But he said, I'm not African. He said, I'm an American. You know, and so he and I had a whole dialogue about that. So Baba, what would it take for our people to see that we're African in order for them to even have a race first or African first or race first mentality? What do you think it will take?
So what I've done with race first in that definition, I have the definition, and then I created what I define as being 10 basic principles that lends toward what I mean by race first. The first principle is Black consciousness. So in order for a person to represent as they are, they must be conscious of who they are. So that consciousness has to be developed. Now that's another story, because we got to put the systems together to get people inside the systems to develop their consciousness. So once you begin to develop the consciousness, and then a person can begin to recognize who they are, because you can only get to identity. Identity is developed in history and culture. So granted, you're born, you're given a name, but your identity is going to come out of your history and your culture, how you truly understand who you are. So we're not going to represent as African people if we can't identify as African people, and we will not identify as African people if we do not have the consciousness that's going to bring about that level of awareness.
Facts. And Baba, that's why what you're doing is so important. See, so in order, like you said, to cultivate that consciousness, then we need to be in control of the institutions that condition the consciousness, primarily education, media. You get what I'm saying? And we got to get our family structure in order too, because the family system is also an institution that influences or conditions the consciousness of our people. So I couldn't agree with you more, brother. But go ahead, Baba.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just run through these principles because they all go together. So I say the first principle is Black consciousness. Then after Black consciousness, I say Black pride. After Black pride, I say Black solidarity. And I'm gonna say why I say that, because the more conscious one is of who they are, you can begin to love yourself. You can't love what you're unaware of. You can't love what you don't understand. Simple as that, right? So in order to have true self-love, we must have self-awareness. That's how you get to self-love, is from self-awareness. And that awareness is gonna grow out our consciousness. So our consciousness is the first business of order, to become conscious. Because the more conscious we are of who we are, we got a pride for being that. And then that, from being prideful of ourselves, we can have a love for self, right? And then out of that consciousness and that pride, we can begin to stand side by side in solidarity. Because now I love you, I like you. We can hug, we can do those things. So now we can stand in solidarity. And group solidarity is what gets us to Black socialization. Now we can begin to socialize well. Because once our socialization is well, we can get to what? Black economics. Now we can get to Black economics. And once we got Black economics, we got to get to Black politics, because our politics regulate the economics.
Come on.
Our politics is what allow us to know how we're going to expend our economics, how we're going to execute the economics. And then with the politics, we got to get you Black ideology, because now we got to have worldview. And then once you get to Black ideology, the very next thing is Black defense and Black protection. And then you get to Black survival. And within Black survival is Black family, because the survival of the race is contingent upon the survival of the family. And then the last principle is Black empowerment. So when those 10 principles are functioning together, then we can take race first and move to a BB for Hodie. We can get the African sovereignty. So that's how I'm laying it down. I'm laying it down systematic.
Woo, Baba. They're going crazy in the chat room. People are like, yes, you're getting hearts. I see that my French speaking brothers and sisters are in the building. Hotep to my French speaking brothers and sisters. They're loving what you're saying right now, Baba Imhotep. They're saying that they agree 100% with what you just stated. And I love that breakdown. That breakdown was, I mean, it was easy to comprehend. You know what I mean? It was easy to comprehend. You just laid it out clear and crisp. Let me ask you a question. Are you going to work on a book or publish a book on race first?
You know what? It's funny you said that, because, see, I like to be original. So since Dr. Tony Martin have a book out that's called Race First, but his book is based on the analysis of Marcus Garvey's movement. Whereas I'm more so breaking the concept down. So I'm thinking about doing something on it. I'm just figuring out how to do it where it can still be, the name won't seem like mess with what the doctor already did. But
Gotcha.
Most definitely, yes, I'm thinking about that.
Family, share this video right now. And I see that a lot of you are coming into the chat room. People, the views are going up. Family, take a moment, share the video. Baba Imhotep is dropping a lot of jewels tonight. I told you at the beginning of this discourse that he was going to drop a lot of jewels, and that he speaks with a lot of passion and with a lot of conviction. So I told you, if you love Baba Baruti, you're going to love Baba Imhotep also. So family, share the show right now. Share it on all of your social media pages. If you're watching from Facebook and you haven't subscribed to my channel, head on over to YouTube, type in dr.maat, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that as soon as I go live, you will be notified. Baba Imhotep, let me ask you a question. What are the benefits? And you kind of touched on it when you were laying out the principles of it, but what are the benefits of being race first? I mean, I feel like Dr. Amos Wilson broke that down in Blueprint for Black Power. And he showed us how, all of the other ethnic groups who have a race first mentality, all of them have prospered. you know, as a result of that. And he talked about the Koreans and
Yes,
the Japanese. And yeah, he said they prosper as a result of having a race first. And I believe he broke that down in the chapter entitled Race and Economics. But he broke down, you know, how a lot of them have a race first mentality and they were able to prosper for that. But can you talk about that briefly? Not even briefly, as much time as you need, but talk about that, Baba. What are the benefits of being race first? Let's talk about that.
The principal benefit is that through race first, we become armed as a people because we live in a racialized world. Regardless of what people say, we live in a racialized world, and the world is divided along the lines of race. So let me digress for a minute, because I know a lot of people heard the word race, and the first thing we say is, well, race is a social construct. Race doesn't exist because the Europeans told us that, right? Now, this is my argument, right? Race was not a social construct when race was being used to enslave African people. Race wasn't a social construct when race was being used to measure our brain sizes. Race wasn't a social construct when race was being used to say we 3/5 of a human being. Race was the determining factor. It's only a social construct now because they understand the power of race. That's what Marcus Garvey said. I'm going to read Garvey. Garvey said this. He said, in a world of wolves, one should go armed. And one of the most powerful defense weapons within the reach of Negroes is the practice of race first in all parts of the world. Even Garvey understood that. When we look at the 1800s, Henry Highland Garnet understood race first. He was a race man. Henry McNeil Turner, the Reverend, set race first in the 1800s. Martin Delaney set Africa for the Africans in the 1800s. Everybody understood that the power in our armor was to get us to recognize the unicity in terms of who we are, right? So race becomes our armor. We can band around that, because at the end of the day, none of us get shot because we black, because we African, because we Muslim, because we Christian, because we Pan-African. We don't get shot because of that. We get shot because they white first. They shoot us. They shoot us because they're white first. That's why we get shot.
Hold on, Baba.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Woo, Baba, goodness gracious, you on fire. So you said the benefits, you know, so the benefits, we would benefit politically, economically, and socially from being race first.
Yes.
Ashe.
We're going to think in terms of our best interests. So we race first, and we're going to think, I like to say it like this right here. If we race first and we understand it, then all our children are going to understand that when they go into society, they step into a war zone. If we race first, they're going to understand that every time you leave a house, our limited security is our homes. But the moment we break the threshold and step into this society, our children step into a war zone. And see, race first will make us aware of that, because we will be educating and socializing our children along the lines to understand that it's us and it's others. It's us and it's others. And as long as we understand that, we can think about what's best for us. We can always do what's best for us. But if we allowing our children and our people to operate on blurred lines, we're going to continue to struggle and continue to be slaughtered. Sidebar, on Sunday, and where was it? In Kenosha, right? Mm-hmm. They just shot the brother. 27, 28?
20, 29. You're talking about the brother in Wisconsin.
Yes, right? Mm-hmm. And if you watch the video, he was going into his car. Police was following him, grabbed his shirt, and discharged his bullets in his back, right? He did that because in his mind as a police, he really didn't feel like he would meet any serious repercussions, because he was shooting a black person, and this society has been orientated to justify the destruction of black people.
Facts, Baba, facts. And so, what do you have to say to the people who say that race first is hate? There may be someone watching this video, and Baba, they might say, "Oh, race first. What do you mean? Are you teaching hate? Because of you're preaching race first. So does that mean that you hate other people? Is that hate teaching?"
That's a great question. And I'm gonna answer that question because we're on the air, and we do have people to think that way. However, my initial thought is this. I'm gonna give two answers. My first answer is that in order to move forward, you must totally identify with who you are. So break it down then. Let's reduce it on a basic level. If we see two mothers with children, and we see one mother only concerned with her children, everybody going to applaud that. No one is going to say you hate that other mother or you hate those other children. It's understood that as a mother, her principal concern has to be her own children. That go without saying. But when you put that on a racial level, they want us to rethink it because they don't want us to work together. So we got to rethink it on a racial level. So we have to be made to believe that to think about ourselves is to hate somebody else. But to love yourself is no indication that you have to hate anybody else.
That's right.
Now, me personally, I don't even feel like we should even have those discussions, because the moment we get into that discussion, right, we have already given validity to that argument.
Right.
The moment we get into that discussion, we've given validity to the argument. And anybody who feels that loving us has to be explained, then you're already missing the mark.
That's a fact.
Because we live in a racialized world, and everybody already know that you are Black or African, and they expect you to behave as such. That's an expectation. Why do you think people deal with us with suspicion? Because they expect us to be about us. That's an expectation. When we demonstrate to the contrary, it's how we open ourselves up for weakness.
That's a fact. That's a fact, Baba. But I had to ask that question because I know there are people watching, yes, Baba, who think that just because you put, your race first, your ethnicity or your ethnic group first, that means that you want to put down other people. But the sad thing, Baba Imhotep, is that it doesn't work with other races. When Chinese people put their race first, we don't say, oh, they hate other people. You know what I mean? And when Japanese people do it, when whites do it or Europeans do it, we don't say, well, if you love yourself, then that means you hate other people. It just seems to me that when Black or African people say, I love myself, then we get accused of hating others.
That's because largely we have been educated by our enemy. And our enemy have been very strategic in making sure they place a lot of what I define as being a fail-safe. They are fail-safes inside our thinking. So anytime we are thinking in the right capacity, something happens to us to make us question that thought, right? If you go to any other race in the world, they're not going to bend their society around to accommodate you. You got to learn the ways of their society, because their societies were structured for their own kind. So if I'm in China, they're not going to go out their way to bend things around for me. I have to adapt to being in China. Simple as that. Because China was built for Chinese people. Think about the COVID-19. And last year, all over the news, everybody said COVID came out of China. It came from China, it came from China, it came from China. But at some point, about 4 months ago, the Chinese started mistreating Africans, saying it came from Africans. Who came to our defense? What other race of people stood up on the national, international stage and said, that's wrong, what y'all doing to those Africans? What other people done that for us? That's the reason why we got to be race first. Because they flipped the script just like that and put it on us and say we were the ones who brought it into China. So they was beating us down. They was putting water hoses on us, evicting our people. They did all that to us in China.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So who came to our aid? So we gotta be about us. We gotta be about us. And if we do not understand that in the year 2020, we insane.
Absolutely. And Bob, I just want to add to that, because I was thinking about that when you started talking about COVID, when Chinese people, they started mistreating African people over there. They started, like you said, they put everybody out, and they said, you got to get out. They were deporting people. And so people said, well, Dr. Maat, what are your thoughts on that? I said, they have a race first mentality. So to them, it was, you know what I'm talking about? They were practicing, what's the first law of nature? Oh, come on, Baba. Self-preservation. That's what they were doing. So they got rid of folks. They deported folks. They isolated folks. They did all kinds of things to preserve their race first. They didn't give a damn about our brothers and sisters in that country. They wanted to preserve themselves. And so they were practicing race first. And like you said, Baba, when we were getting attacked, where was anybody? Did anyone stand up for us? But when they started attacking Chinese people, did you notice some of our brothers and sisters
right.
went
Yes.
to the defense or came to the defense of those Chinese people? They said,
Yes.
"Oh, that's wrong. Oh, he's xenophobic. Oh, that's hate." But like you said, when it was us, right? When they talked about us, then no one stood up for us, Baba.
No. And that's the reason why, that's just another reason underlining why we have to come to understand the necessity of race first. That it's a necessity. And that's what Marcus Garvey understood. It's like all people are going to naturally place themselves first. They're going to do that. I give you another basic example. Homegrown. There's a spot on North Avenue in Patterson Park. It's called Cash and Carry. It's called Cash and Carry. It's a Korean spot, and it's set up like a Sam's Club. You can go in there, you can buy all this bulk stuff. So my father used to go there because my father had a business, and he used to go in there, he used to patronize. So he started asking me to go with him. So I went with him one day, and we was in line about to pay for his stuff. And when I'm looking around, like I'm noticing, like, wow, man, it's all Korean. I'm looking at all the little pops, the little Korean pop spots. They coming in getting all their little stuff, right? And I'm watching that everybody literally didn't pay for nothing. When they got to the cash register, they just did something. She put some numbers in, and they kept it going, right? So when my father got up there, before he paid, I asked the lady, I said, hold on, before he paid, how could he get what these other ones just got? You know what that lady told me, a Korean lady? She said he can't. He has to pay, and he gotta pay with cash. She said that benefit is only for Koreans. Only for Koreans. And look, check this out. She ain't put her head down when she said it. She ain't do none of that. Right? She looked me right in my eyes. He can't. That benefit, listen, that benefit is only for Koreans.
And so, see, Baba, that's reminiscent of the story that Dr. Anderson tells in his book Powernomics, when he said that it was a brother who was distributing or selling hair products, and he went into a beauty supply store that was owned by some Asians, and he said that the brother offered them a discount and said, well, look, if you buy from me, I will give you these products cheaper. And so he's presented the Asians with a number, and the Asians said no. They told him no, we're good, man. And he said, well, what, it is. So he said he gave them a bigger discount and said, well, look, if you come to me, I could do this for you. And he said those Asian people looked that brother in the face and said, don't you get it? We buy from each other. We don't care what the price is or what you're offering. We buy from each other. Again, that's another example of race first. Like you just said, another example of race first. Oh, look at Baba. Kwame is in the building. Yeah, they're loving the show. Family, share this show. Let's get some more people in the chat room. I have with me tonight Baba Imhotep, the founder of PLM, Pan-African Liberation Movement, right here in Baltimore City. He's dropping a lot of jewels, family. Let's get some more people in the building. Share this video on your social media pages. If you're watching on Facebook, head on over to my channel on YouTube, dr.maat.msu. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. So, Baba.
Yes.
Let's get into education. Now, you said that in order to become race first, we have to cultivate the consciousness. And so that's why you are involved in the education of our babies. And the same with me. I feel like if we want to change, if we want to cultivate, as Marcus Klein would say, a new African, then we have to be involved in the education of our babies. And so what type of curriculum or program do you recommend? Tell me some of the things or some of the concepts that you would introduce these children to in order to cultivate a race first attitude. So let's say that you have a family, or a parent who doesn't live in a city with, an African centered school, but they want to cultivate, a race first attitude within their child right in the home. How do we do that?
My first question would be in the home. I would ask them what type of art or pictures do they have in the home, because the environment is important. First and foremost, the environment has to reinforce the information is just one element of the transformation. What brings about the transformation is the reinforcing elements. So part of those reinforcing elements is the environment. Another part is the consistency of the parents. A lot of times parents want to give their children things that they're not demonstrating themselves, and they wonder why it don't get through to the child, right? So I would ask those questions. I would ask, you know what I'm saying, what type of books do your child already have? You know, do your child have video games and things of that nature? Do your child spend a lot of time on a video game? I would ask those questions because contingent upon what they're already doing with the child, it's going to determine how effective they can be at cultivating this type of mentality, right? And so let's say they don't have any of that. So I would suggest that you get all of it. I would suggest that you take down all your white paintings, all your white sculptures and stuff like that, trash it all.
Come on.
Or auction it off some kind of way, but get it out of your house for the most part. Minimize what they watch on TV. Try to introduce them to Black documentaries and lectures and things like that. Play many lectures as you could in your house. Make sure they have books. And then I would tell them, like, depending on the age of the child, I would give them some books that I think they can use that can help them develop the child and get their awareness in. For young children, I think it's a really good book. It's A Celebration in Blackness, and it's written by Jawanza Kunjufu, who is an educator.
Absolutely.
And he has 2 volumes of that book. He has an elementary volume and an advanced volume. But that elementary volume, it has vocabulary word, it has questions, it has little teeny chapters. They got a lot of information on our history and our culture where you can move your child through that, have them do those assignments, have them learn some of those vocabulary words, and move them through that book right there. They're going to get something. Malife Asante has a really good book. I'm going to grab it real quick.
All right, no problem. Baba is going in tonight, family. Thank you so much for sharing the video. I do see that the numbers are going up. Thank you so much, family, for joining us. Some people just joined in, Baba Imhotep. So thank you for joining the discussion, family. Tonight, we're talking about race first. Is it optional or necessary? And I have with me tonight our Baba Imhotep, co-founder of PLM, Pan-African Liberation Movement, of Baltimore City. So go ahead, Baba. Let's look at the book, Baba.
So Dr. Asante has this book. And this book is pretty old, but a lot of people it's called Classical Africa. And what it is actually is written as an actual school textbook. And he created a study guide with this book, a study activity guide, where you can go through this book. It covers classical Africa, Kemet, Nubia, and I mean, the book is thorough. So you can go through the book, and then you can use the activity. It asks you questions about stuff like that. This is currently one of the books that we use with our 7-year-old son. It's a great book. So I would suggest these types of maturity to someone if they're trying to get into it. But I also would tell them it's that environment. That's what Dr. Kobe Cambone talked about in his African personality in America.
Absolutely.
He talked about it in there. He was saying that what's really critical is the environment that's going to reinforce, you know what I'm saying, what you're trying to get into the child. The music. A lot of times we think the music is insignificant. You know, you want your child to be African-centered, but you listen to ratchet music. No, it's
Come
a
on. Let's talk about it, Baba.
It's a contradiction. Your child got to listen to upbeat African music, you know what I'm saying, powerful music and stuff like that. They're going to listen to it. You know, one of the things I do with my younger boys, I do this thing I call hip-hop history. So I give them a lot of Run DMC. And we go through the Run DMC and stuff like that. I go through the beatboxing with them. I go through the Fat Boys, because that when the music was still pure in its rawest form. And I could get them to understand that hip-hop, you know, it's ours. So they should understand that. You know, so it's all of that makes a difference if you're going to bring about African-centered children. Everything that they're exposed to have to reinforce what you teach. And you have to be the principal demonstrator in what you teach.
I say, hold on, Baba. I gotta give you a
Fire!
Baba, you are on fire tonight. Family, I want to take a moment out just to share my screen with you all really quickly. Baba, let me know if you can see the diagram on the screen.
Yes.
And Baba, this is the diagram that you're talking about in Dr. Kobe Cambone's The African Personality in America, and also in his book, Cultural Misorientation. Yeah. And so, family, this is what Baba's talking about right here. He, you know, in this particular diagram, it shows you the benefits or what could happen if your child is reared in an African-centered, if your child undergoes an African-centered socialization process versus if your child undergoes a Eurocentric socialization process. So what he's saying right here is that when your child is born, they're born into a family. And if that family, notice that the head of the child is black, right? And so if this family, right, if this family rears this child in an African-centered environment, meaning that this child participates in African life cycle rituals, celebrations, commemorations, cultural rituals, if it has the presence, as he just stated, of African cultural icons, all right, then this child would have a moderate to strong, what he calls an African self-consciousness. And that is the consciousness that is necessary for African nation building and in African nation building maintenance. All right. But what happens to your child when your child is reared in a European-centered environment, i.e., they undergo Eurocentric life cycle rituals. So they're participating in Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and the 4th of July and things of that nature. They have the presence of European cultural icons. So you see a white Jesus on the wall, or you got, you know, the what else, Baba? The white Jesus on the wall. What else is common in our households?
The Last Supper.
Oh yeah, the Last Supper. And so if they're looking at that stuff,
the mistletoe.
Yep, the mistletoe and all of that stuff, then your child is going to develop what he calls, or what he refers to as, cultural misorientation. Baba, can you speak on that for a brief moment? What is cultural misorientation?
Yes, cultural misorientation essentially is an incorrect cultural orientation to the world. So it's essentially taking, I'm gonna make it's clear if I use other people, because it's hard for us to see it in ourselves. So cultural misorientation is taking a Chinese person and you rear and raise him or her in Europe as a white person. That's cultural misorientation. So now to bring it back to us, it's taking African people and rearing and raising them within a European environment that conditions within them thoughts, ideals, and concepts reflective of a white environment. So therefore, everything that we do, because behavior follows thought, so that everything that we do in turn reinforces the Europeans' way of life at the detriment of the Africans' way of life. That's the reason why we're more inclined to spend our money outside our community, inside of our community, right?
Come on,
because we have been orientated to do so. That's the reason why we say stuff like, well, conscious music. I don't like conscious music. You know, it's like conscious music is boring. You know, so no, it's not that it's boring. It's just that your frequency is low.
Come on.
You got a low frequency, right? And your frequency is addicted to trash. So you want to hear trash. Don't call it boring. You don't want to elevate yourself to a higher frequency so you can vibe with true music. Because the business of music is to elevate you spiritually. That's the business of music. Music facilitates the connectivity between the material world and the spiritual world. That's the business of music, real music.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Ooh, so Baba, I'm not the only person, Baba, who felt like that WAP video was trash, huh? Because I got attacked on social media. I mean, I'm telling you, they threw eggs at me. Oh my goodness, they threw eggs at me. My cousin who's in the building, she'll tell you I had about 1,000 comments on this particular group on Facebook when I said that the WI, because they were trying to say that this WAP video with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, they called it female empowerment. And I said it was trash. And what I said is that it reinforces the Jezebel stereotype that's been perpetuated since the plantation. And I got eggs thrown at me. So what you just said, Baba, just reaffirmed that I was 100% correct in my assessment of this trash music that people are running around calling empowerment, Baba.
Yes, you was 100% correct. And anybody that feels that way is because they don't really understand the importance of imagery and the influence of music. And granted, so let's touch that a little bit, right? Because you always got the people that's in the background saying stuff like, well, you know, it's the parents' decision to make sure the child don't do this. They say stuff like that. But we live in a society, man, where it's set up, that stuff is strategically marketed to our children. It's marketed to it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You turn the radio on, If you sing your child over somebody's house and the music, it's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So parents can only do for so much nowadays because we're under attack. But at the end of the day, people need to realize that if you have a public platform, like such as yourself, you have a public platform, Dr. Maat.
Mm-hmm.
So by virtue of your platform, you are a semblance of a role model. By virtue of the platform. Now, granted, you're doing this because you want to help the people, you want to push us forward. But at the same time, anybody that's watching and listening that start liking what you do, they still look towards you for a level of influence and guidance. So that's the same for a basketball player, a football player, a rap artist, an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? You got a platform, you have a social responsibility.
Come on.
You got a social responsibility. The platform in and of itself gives you that. You know, you can't be in a politically social world and you think that you're politically and socially neutral. That's a lie. So either you're going to push us forward or you're going to do things that's going to work against us. Simple as that. There's no neutrality in this thing we're dealing with. You know, I like to use this scenario right here. If you put 10 men, if you put 20 people on the battlefield, 10 on one side and 10 on the other side, but 10 people on side A, 2 people on side A step off the battlefield, they get side B the advantage by virtue of stepping off the battlefield. They don't necessarily got to go over there and join side B. But the fact that you just took your team down 2 people, you gave the other team the advantage. So there's no neutrality in what we're doing. So either you pushing us forward or you working against us. There's no neutrality.
Ashe, Baba. The family, they're going off right now. They're sending hearts. They said, break it down, Baba. A sister, Charmonique Thomas, she said, if music is supposed to inspire, she said, so why aren't we getting no higher? Miss Lauren Hill, music today, she said, could never. Peace and love to you, my sister. Thank you, family, for joining in. I see that the views are going up. Family, share this video I have with me tonight, Baba Imhotep. We're discussing race first. Is it optional or is it necessary? So, Baba, I know that we're coming down to the wire. We have about 13 minutes left with this conversation. My question to you is, and you've already said it, actually, I asked the question, is it optional or necessary, right? And you say it's necessary. It's necessary. Let's spend some time on that. Let's talk about why is it so necessary?
Okay, this is why it's necessary. I have a presentation that's coming up on Sunday. It's a paid presentation, but it's a presentation on race first. So in this presentation, what I do is I got 13 pictures, right? The 13 pictures is Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, George Floyd. You know, everybody, you know what I'm saying? Sean Bell, Diallo, all of those ones, right? None of them was murdered because they was black. They all was murdered because the perpetrator was white. So it's a necessity because it's going to protect us and keep us alive. As long as we walking around in this world thinking that if we living in a racial neutral world, we will forever be preyed upon and assaulted, attacked, and assassinated, right? Everything that's happening to us and everything that have happened to us is happening because of race. It's because of race that is happening, not because we are African, because that would imply that African or blackness is problematic. There's nothing problematic about being who we are, but we live in a society that prioritizes around white. White is the priority. When you dig in your pocket right now, pull out a coin. Baba Shaka dropped this on us probably like 12 years ago. You pull a coin out your pocket, you see a white face. That's empowering to white people, right? You walk into the most of the banks, the managers, the owners are white. That's empowering to white people. You know what I'm saying? The white brother that comes home from prison and goes straight and get a job, that's empowering to white people. Right? The sister that rebels against her family, the white girl, and runs down and hang out in the inner city for 6 months getting high. But the moment she get tired and get on their phone and say, Dad, I want to come back home, she come home and get cleaned up and get sit straight in there and get a job. All right? That's empowering the white people. They live in a society that white people have structured to favor white people.
That's right.
Simple as that, right? So if we don't understand that, we're going to always suffer and we're going to always be confused, fighting each other, complaining and stuff like that. We got to realize that all of our issues, every single issue that we are dealing with, and we have issues, stem from whiteness. Every issue. The uncle touching the niece, that's built-in whiteness. How can you say that, Bobby? Well, Bobby, Imhotep, how are you going to say that? Because history tells us that we've never done that before. So where did the damn behavior come from?
Where do we get those pathologies? Come on, Baba. Come on, Baba.
Where do you get it from? I got over 1,000 books in my room. All I do is read our history and our culture. And I read white anthropologists. They know friend of ours. If any of that junk existed in our history, they would have wrote about it. The white people haven't even wrote about us touching our children. You got the white boy, what's his name? Marcel Grou, the one that stayed amongst the Dogon people for 15 years. He don't got nothing bad to say. He lived amongst us. He don't have nothing recorded about us touching our children, right? So where it come from? Even the slave narrative don't talk about it, right? So where it come from then?
Come on, Baba.
So everything we dealing with, we better drop it for the white people.
Come on, Baba. Hold on, Baba. Hold on. I got to give you this one.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Woo! Had to give that one to you, Baba. So you saying a lot of these psychopathologies, and I got a plus one, what you're saying. A lot of our psychologists would back you up 100%. Dr. Kobe Cambon wrote about that extensively in his book, The African Personality in America, and also in Cultural Misorientation, where even Dr. Naeem Akbar talked about that. You know, when they broke down he said that cultural misorientation, Kobe Cambon, I'm speaking of, he argued that cultural misorientation is the precursor to a lot of the psychopathologies that exist within the African community. And so, oh my God, Baba, you got me wanting to go get my book. Hold on, Baba. Let me get my book right now. Hold on. Let me stop my camera, get my book. Oh. All right, Baba. I just had to go to my library. Let me cut my camera back on and get my book. Oh, that's the share screen. I'm sorry, Baba. Hold on. I made a boo-boo. There we go. Yeah, hold on. Trying to share my screen. Oh, what just happened? Oh, man. Now my computer freezing on me. So as soon as I went ahead and did this, Baba, can you still hear me?
I can hear you. We hear you nice and clear.
All right. Well, look, I'm going to keep on rocking out because my screen froze. But if you can hear me, I can hear you. I see that the numbers have gone up. Family, tonight I'm discussing race first with Baba Imhotep. Is it optional or is it necessary? And what I did was I cut my camera off to slide to the back to grab my book. And in fact, the book that I grabbed, Baba, is Akbar's Papers in African Psychology.
Yes.
So that's what I just grabbed. And then look, when I came back to cut my daggone camera off, all of a sudden it says that StreamYard is not responding. And so I can't cut my camera back on, but I can definitely hear you, Baba. So we're going to keep on going because I know that we only have you. I have you for another 7 minutes and then we're out. But goodness gracious. So my screen is frozen. I can't see you. It's completely white. But I'm gonna keep on rocking out for the next 6 minutes. But this is a good book, family. The African Papers in African Psychology by Dr. Naeem Akbar. And in this book, family, he talks a whole lot, about he talks about the different psychopathologies that we acquire due to European domination. So, Baba, do you want to add to that, Baba?
Yes, and I want to add to that. The importance of that book there, that particular one, is that he actually gets into the breakdown of the different type of pathologies, because part of the work that we have to do is we have to define for ourselves. So even the DSM-5, you know what I'm saying, the pathologies that Europeans have, those are European pathology because those are Europeans defining Europeans. So a lot of the issues that they have, they're not our issues. We have a unique set of issues that we have to define. And so we have to be able to look at the works that our great ancestors and great scholars and psychiatrists have put out there for us so we can better understand what we are contending with. So that's an excellent book. And I want to make some clarifications because I know a lot of times when I say the things that I just said, the way we argue is they say, well, he's blaming white people, right? I'm going to say something about the word blame. Mm-hmm. But anyone that's listening, Look the word blame up, because a lot of times we tend to use words, right, without fully understanding what the word really means in terms of its context, right? When I say that every issue that we are contending with, we can lay at the foot of white people, that's a truth, right? And that's not quote unquote blaming in the context of how we use the word blaming, right? That's an indictment. So that's what I'm not blaming. What my statement is an indictment. I'm not blaming. It's an indictment that I can back up with historical facts. So I can prove and demonstrate and show how white people have misorientated black people to behave crazy. I can demonstrate that. I remember in 1984, a white judge, a juvenile judge named Master Koshel. That was her name. I was in her courtroom. I probably was like 13 years old. The lady told me I was incapable of learning, that my brain needed to be checked out. She ordered that I be sent to Johns Hopkins Hospital, and they placed me inside an MRI. They looked at my brain. Now, what if, even though that was, not a healthy experience, but what if I really would have bought into what that white lady said? You and I wouldn't be having this conversation today. Not this conversation. If I would have bought into that bull crap that she shot out there, we wouldn't be here today. And that's just happening to me. But I'm saying everything we're dealing with, it comes from them. African people are a child-centered people. We are life-affirming. For us, life is sacred. And our children are a gift to us. Our children are a gift to us. We acknowledge that the child is an ancestor returning to us to benefit us, to aid us. We traditionally give everything to ensure that the child is protected. We're not in the business of touching our children. We're not in the business of raping. That's not our way. That's not us. So when I say this stuff, quote unquote, like they say, black on black crimes, right? There's no such thing as black on black crime. There's no such thing as it. Anything that we are dealing with, you see what I'm saying? We're dealing with it as a result of white people. Simple as that. And I tell people all the time, well, brother, Baltimore is violent. I say Baltimore is only violent if you take Baltimore out of the context of the United States of America.
Come on.
Simple as that. If you assess Baltimore in relation to America, its proper context, Baltimore is normal. It's normal because the USA is violent. It's one of the most hostile places on earth.
Come on.
USA. One of the most hostile places you can be is right here in the USA. It's violent, highly violent. You know what I'm saying? What do you think? You don't think it's violent when white boys pick up automatic weapons and walk in schools and kill 30 people? You don't think that's violent? You don't think what Timothy McVeigh did in 1995 when he blew that building up in Oklahoma? You don't think that was violent? You don't think what they did in Rosewood was violent? You don't think what they did in 1985 in Philadelphia with the move was violent? You don't think Tulsa was violent? You don't think what they did to Imhotep was violent? You don't think that was violent? You don't think what they did with Malcolm X father was violent? What's the damn problem? You know what I'm saying? What's your problem?
Hold on, Baba. Hold on.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Goodness gracious. And you got me thinking about Dylan Roof, how he went into the church, Baba, and sat there while they were worshiping, right? Sat there and he walked in there and he knew what he was going to do and ended up murdering 9 black people.
That's right.
I'm with you. This culture, this European or Euro-American culture, it breeds pedophilia. It breeds people who are violent. It's the culture, because we have to understand that culture produces psychology and psychology dictates behavior. And it's this culture. So, back in the day, and I want to talk about this before we go. Remember back in the 80s, Baba, when someone committed a crime, and we all knew that typically when they don't show the person was white. If they showed you, of course you were black. Yeah. But remember back in the day, and I'm thinking about the situation with the sniper, the DC sniper. He was running around, and and killing folks. And we all knew, the black community, we was like, nah, that's not us. Nah, that's not us. And so when it came out that the sniper was black, we were all shocked, because back then, and I'm speaking to the 80s because I'm an 80s baby. Okay, early 80s baby. So I'm speaking of what I know, but I just remember, I think this happened in late 80s or early 90s, something like that. But I do remember as a kid that we were like, no, my mother and them, they were looking at the television like, no, it wasn't us. And then Come to find out, it was a black guy, you know, and I think he had his son involved with him. But I'm sharing that story because now you can't tell the difference. You know, before we knew, you know, before it was kind of like black people just didn't do certain things. But now, because we've been acculturated and we have assimilated to this culture, that now it's sort of like you can't really distinguish us from them in a sense. And when I say the us, Bob, I'm not talking about people like you and I and the people that's watching, but I'm talking about some of our brothers and sisters, really the mentality. You can't distinguish theirs from Europeans at this point. So what do you have to say about that, Baba?
Now that's what it's been designed to do, to produce an inferior imitation of themselves. This society is designed to produce an inferior imitation of white people. By doing so, we perpetuate the white existence. We begin to defend it. We begin to act like them. We begin to take in their ways. That's the reason why, you know, we do some of the stuff that we do, because they are normalizing their pathologies. See, their pathologies and perversions are the things that they push on a daily basis to normalize. They bring in their psychologists, they bring in their scholars to begin to justify the normalization of perversion. And what we do, because we're culturally misorientated, we listen to quote unquote white experts. And because these white experts are saying these things, we begin to take it in and we begin to act it out. So that's why you have two things. We have been acculturated, like you said correctly. But what we have to learn how to do, we have to learn how to inculturate our own kind.
Come
Two
on.
words.
Come
we have
on.
to learn inculturation. We've been acculturated. We have to learn how to inculturate. We have to learn how to inculcate within our own people our ways of being. We have to put that in our people. You know what I'm saying? What are our norms? What are our mores? What are our ethos and pathos and things? We have to put that into our people. You know what I'm saying? What are our sensibilities? Right? We have to give that to our people. What are our models and standards? What are our morals and values? Right? We have to do that. In the African world, there is no split demarcation between the secular and the sacred.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? For us, everything is sacred. For us, everything is sacred. So that's the reason why we don't just go out in the forest and just tear a tree down. We go out there, we do prayer, we do libation, we pray to the spirit that was that inhabited that tree. Not saying that the tree itself has a spirit, but the spirit being that took that tree as a place of its habitat. We have to give offering to that because we need this lumber. In exchange for this lumber, this is what we give it, right? Because we know that this tree is life. Because of this tree, it gives us oxygen that allows us to live and survive. We're not just running out there chopping it down.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the difference. So we saw the sacredness in all things, that life, because life for us is the essence of all things. See, we look at life, that allows us to be connected to that which we come from. Whether we say Oludumare, whether we say Tupu and Ware, whatever, right? And Yame, it's all for us, it's all the same.
That's right.
And
That's
we
right.
are an extension of this higher essence, and we have attributed certain characteristics and behaviors and attitudes to this higher essence that we strive to emulate in the physical.
Ashe, Baba. Ashe. And I'm looking in the chat room. My BFF, she's in the chat room, and there's another sister, Sister Pender. They both said this DC sniper happened in 2002. I'm getting old, Baba. I felt like it was longer than that, but they said that happened in 2002. And also, Melissa, this is the book, yes, ma'am, that I was talking about, Akbar Papers in African Psychology. So this is the paper family, book that I was trying to show before my camera went out. Baba, we have to wrap up now. You know, Baba, I could sit here and listen to you all night, Baba, but there may be some brothers and sisters who want to connect with you, Baba. How do they find you? Where do they find you? How can they connect with you?
The easiest way to get with me, go to my website, organizational website, www.plm95.org. Go to the website, or you can hit me on Facebook directly at Baba Imhotep on Facebook, or Baba Imhotep on IG. You can easily reach me.
And Baba, how can we support? I know that the school is coming up. The school, you're building a school, and you said that you're asking for $21, a pledge of $21 per month. And so do you have a Cash App that we can put in the chat right now? And hold on, I want to type it up. So what is your Cash App, Baba?
Baba Imhotep.
Baba Imhotep.
Yeah. the dollar sign Baba Imhotep.
All right, so this is Baba's Cash App family that I'm going to put in the chat. Cash App. And what is your website, Baba?
www.plm95.org.
All right. All right, family. So this is Baba Imhotep's Cash App family. So please make a donation. I know that this school is going to be powerful. Baba, when do you all plan to open the doors to this school? What is the plan? Is it next year, the year after? Are we looking at a 5-year plan?
Well, to be honest, we really want to be able to do it as soon as possible. But it's really contingent upon the type of money, the funds that we raise. If we can get the ball rolling the way we really want it to roll, we could pretty much be in our building development stages next year sometime. But most definitely by the year 2022, we want to be up and operational and running.
All right. And Baba, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna share something with you offline because we have something in the works. You know that old Target over there by Mondawmin Mall?
Yes.
So some investors acquired that Target, right? I don't know if you're aware of the I believe it's called the Gate Bridge Community Project. And so some investors, some Black investors, acquired that Target. And so I'm gonna share something with you when we get off of the live stream. So don't run away. Don't run away. All right. Thank you, family, so much for joining in. Family, join me on Thursday. I have Baba Khalifa coming on Thursday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about the life and legacy of the Honorable Nat Turner. And so, Baba, I know you're familiar with Baba Khalifa. He runs the Nat Turner tours out in Southampton, Virginia. And so he's going to come on Thursday to talk about the life and legacy of the Honorable Nat Turner, because we know this is Black August, and this was the kicker. A lot of stuff happened in Black August.
Yes,
so we got the red, black, and green flag on August the 13th, 1920th. The Honorable Marcus Garvey was born on August the 17th, 1887. The Haitian Revolution kicked off in August. You had the rebellion of George Jackson in the prison that kicked off in August. Nat Turner Rebellion kicked off in August. The Fred Hampton, he was born in August. And so there were a lot of things that happened in August. Did I forget anything, Baba Imhotep?
Jonathan and George Jackson happened in August, but a year apart.
A year apart. I didn't know that. I didn't know that also happened in August. So a lot of things happened in August. And so, Baba, that's why I said I gotta bring Baba Khalifa on to talk about the life and legacy of Nat Turner. In fact, we went on the Nat Turner tour with Brother Jabari back in October of 2016. I took my boys and we went on the tour, and I had to pull them, Baba, because they was like, oh, why she want me to go to Southampton County? So I had to pull them because at that time, one was 16 and the other one was 17. And so they were kind of, at a stage, oh, she want me to go on this Black Power stuff and learn it. And I said, you got to go. And so we went and we had a beautiful time. And I learned so much from Baba Khalifa. And so he'll be on Thursday, family. So join us back here on Thursday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Baba, thank you so much for coming on tonight, Baba. I appreciate all of your time, your energy, and your knowledge, Baba.
Thank you. And I appreciate the work that you do. Continue to do the great work you do.
Oh, no doubt, Baba. And Baba, hold tight. I don't want you to get off because I do got to put a bug in your ear about something. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, family, for joining in. Peace and Black Power.